Shalom. Allah start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakal Gadash. Double honors to the apostles and Ezra Millstone, citations to the Philet, just pushing his truth. Cause for comes to earth, our faith, truth, with sincerity. I'm on the bar back again. That's it. That's what I'm going to. That's what I'm going to about, how in these times going forward, a lot of people, in America, Babylon Great, the world, a lot of people, it's gonna be facing a lot of pain, suffering, losses. People from be dealing with a lot of depression. A lot of people, deal with a lot of financial burdens, which that's folks going through that now, but it's gonna get way more worse than it is now. People had to deal with a lot of drastic changes that it's gonna make them uncomfortable, and that's the time that we in now. But going forward, it's gonna get like I said, it's gonna get more uncomfortable, more worse than what it is right now. And a lot of people, especially in America, Babylon Great, think that things are gonna continue to be okay and nothing's gonna happen. That's not that's not the case. The apostles and the elders of the brother and the brother of Great Millstone for years been preaching and saying, hey, this place in America, Babylon Great is gonna be, there's gonna come a time where this place in America, Babylon Great, gonna be completely unrecognizable. It's gonna, how things look now is gonna be like, looking like a third world country. Looking like these cities and places that you see now gonna be looking, not up to date. It's gonna be, it's gonna come to a point where these cities, the city's gonna look unrecognizable. Like, the streets, the buildings, and all that stuff gonna be looking, run down, as I say, not up to date, not kept up, because how bad things is gonna get going forward, And like I said, a lot of people they don't see it happening, but it will happen, And a lot of people gonna face a lot of turmoil, a lot of stress, It's gonna come upon a lot of people, man. They're gonna be out here losing it, man. Because like I say, these people out here are just out here doing a lot of wickedness, and that the lawyer Yahweh and Yahweh hates, especially so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, which are Israelites. The lawyer Yahweh, he hates the things that y'all do, and the judgment gonna come down, and the lawyer judgments are gonna come down hard, man, in these times. But I'm gonna start off with 2 Ezra 8:50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked a great pride. So yeah, many great miseries. So a lot of miseries, a lot of a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of distress is gonna come upon these people out here because they walk in great pride. They have a pride mindset of, they think they all, they have a high-minded pride mindset of, you can't tell them what to do, or you can't tell them can't tell people that they doing wrong or what it may be, or they just out here willy-nilly doing what they want to do, and doing things doing things that the Lord Yahweh hates, and not considering the consequences. They have no fear of the Lord Yahweh. The things they do, they think they're just gonna get away with it, but it's not the case. the lawyer Yahweh Hashem Shah is gonna bring. He wrath for judgment on this place, America, Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great, and on these so-called white people, Esau Edomites. This world. This wicked world. This wicked rulership, this setup, this system. But the Lord Yahweh Shai, he gonna have he got these people in a delusional mindset. To keep doing what they doing and think they're gonna get away with it, but they're not. Like I said, the judgment is gonna come upon them when they least expect it. Okay, I said, the Lord Yahweh Shai judgment is gonna catch a lot of, especially so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, which are Israelites, off guard, man. And it's people in general in America, Babylon Great is gonna, the judgment is gonna come, just, coming at them, And like I said, they're gonna know that a higher power is at work, And like I say, these people just, walk in great pride, man. That's why a lot of great miseries and, like I said, a lot of distress, pain, a lot of sorrows. It's gonna come upon these people, man, in these times now going forward. But go from there to 2 Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. So woe means destruction. So destruction to this place, this world, this wicked kingdom of the so-called white man, East Sodomite world. The Lord Yahweh for the bring, the wrath and destruction upon this wicked kingdom, this wicked world, the so-called white man, Esau Edomites world, and America, Babylon the Great. Okay. 2 Ezra 15:15. 2 Ezra 15:15. For the sword and the destruction draweth not, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in the end. Yeah, so we coming to that time, people gonna be going at each other, race war, civil war, when you want to call it, people gonna be going, at each other, trying to survive, It's gonna get that bad out here, It's all gonna be about, a dog eat dog situation, dog eat dog world, which we in, it's in now, but it's gonna get worse, people gonna do what they gotta do to survive right here, man. They're gonna use, like I said, a sword. It could be it could be a sword. It could be something they use like a machete or something like that. But the modern day sword, is the gun. A lot of people are gonna be like shooting, killing each other. Trying to survive. But 2 Ezra 15:16. For that shall be sedition among men, and evading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So will come a time, like I say, the people, within the cities of America, Babylon the Great, is not going to, listen to their mayors or officials, what it may be. They're not going to care what Donald Trump talking about, they're going to not going to be following no orders or whatever. It's like, man, we're trying to survive, Like I said, the price of the food, everything going to continue. It don't look like it's going to drop. It look like it'll continue to keep. The price of food and things will continue to get higher. And people out here, jobs not gonna be out here hiring. Gonna be doing more laying off and firing than hiring. So they're gonna lead to a lot of people just, in distress and, and sorrow and pain and doing what they gotta do to survive. Crime rate in each American city eventually it really is gonna go up. It ain't gonna slow down, You're gonna hear more and more, people just robbing, stealing, killing, doing what they gotta do to survive, man. Because ain't gonna be no job hiring, the economy ain't gonna get no better. This dollar, this currency that we're in right now, this financial currency that we're in right now is gonna be, completely it's gonna completely collapse, soon to come, And what's gonna be the solution to the problem is gonna be that the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, that's gonna be mandatory for you to buy, to take to buy and sell. You know, you're gonna have to have that RFID chip to buy and sell to function in society. That's gonna be the problem to the solution. Once this financial currency or this system is completely collapsed, that's gonna be the problem to the solution. Everybody gonna be losing their mind because the paper dollar, the debit cards, and they ain't gonna accept these stores and places ain't gonna accept it no more. You know, so that's what's coming, man. And a lot of people gonna be caught off guard because, like I say, the apostles and elders, Berger have been saying this for years and prophesying it for years. Hey, that especially I said the apostles, Apostle Hall, and the apostle Gabar, Apostle Ramlan, Apostle Rakar, so forth. They've been and the elders been saying this for years about the RFID chip being the mark of the beast and will be the way you're gonna have to buy and sell. It's gonna be mandatory for you to take to buy and sell to function in society. And it's gonna happen. Once it happens, you gonna know who the real men. Once this financial it's collapsing now, but it's gonna get to a point where it's fully just collapsed. Like I said, the paper dollar and debit cards it's not gonna be accepted in these stores and so forth. And people gonna be looking baffled like, what? You gotta have that chip. They're gonna show you gonna have this in your hand or your forehead or whatever to buy and sell. And that's what's coming. And when people start to see that, they're gonna know that the apostles and the Elzberg the Middle Minister had the truth the whole time. And all these other Israelite camps were just spitting out lies and false doctrine. But I'll go from there to 2 Ezra 15:17. A man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able. So it's gonna come to a time where a lot of people gonna want to go to like different parts of the cities that you live in, but you ain't gonna be able to. You ain't gonna be able to go to this side of town, that side of town. It's gonna be blocked out by military troops, and that's coming, man. That's gonna happen because it's gonna be so chaotic out here in the streets. You're gonna have to have the military. It's gonna be out here, man. So that's what's gonna come about with that. You're gonna desire to go into a city or different parts of the city, and ain't gonna be able to because it's gonna be blocked off. It's gonna be blocked off by military Humvees or trucks, whatever. 2 Ezra 15:18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yeah, so because of their pride, so these prideful people, man, in America, Babylon Great, it's gonna, they don't fear the Lord Yahweh Shai. They don't take the apostles and Ellsberg, Brother Grimstone the message seriously, or what they know about the warning and destruction that comes to America, about the warning and the destruction that comes to America, Babylon the Great, and you so-called Negro, Latino natives, to return to the ways of Lord Yahweh Shai, come to the wisdom knowledge of Lord Yahweh Shai and repent and come out the mind frame of America, Babylon Great, this world. But a lot of Israelites ain't gonna listen. Like I said, that's just it's prophecy. 2/3 Israelites got to die on this side, and only the 1/3 and the elect of the Israelites is gonna be delivered and woken up to the truth and have mercy by the Lord Yahweh Shai and keep the truth as well. Hopefully I'm part of righteous number to escape the wrath and judgment of the Lord Yahweh Shai in these times, but that's what it is. But like I say, a lot of Israelites, so-called Negro, Latino natives, and people out here, in America, Babylon Great, gonna be, not have their hedge protection, is gonna be out here, doing what they gotta do to survive, killing, stealing, whatever, and like I said, dealing with the judgment of the Lord Yahweh Shai gonna come down by way of newly created beasts, animals that, or what it may be, that you haven't seen, that's gonna bring judgment upon you. That's gonna come about. The times that we're going in for is gonna be very, it's gonna be very, like I say, dramatic, interesting, exciting, especially for the elect. The Lord, that ready for this place to go down. And the prophecies come about, and to be fulfilled. But gonna be a lot of people out here gonna be shocked, man, by the wrath and judgment of the Lord Yahweh that he gonna bring down upon America, Babylon the Great, man. And only the elect of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Israelites is gonna escape this wrath and judgment of the Lord Yahweh, that he gonna bring down upon America, Babylon the Great. Going forward. Let me see. And like I said, it said men shall be afraid, because like I said, you're gonna have men, men that's tough, or you may know the toughest guy, or it may be whoever, but they gonna be afraid of how crazy it's gonna get out here. They gonna be like, they ain't gonna be so tough when it goes down, when it really get crazy out here, chaotic. Only like I said, only the men of the Lord they let is gonna have a strong faith in Lord Yahweh to withstand what's about to happen. What's gonna withstand the wrath and judgment of Lord Yahweh, what's about to be done, what's about to be brought upon America, Babylon the Great in these times going forward, And a lot of these people really ain't ready for that wrath and judgment, Lord Yahweh, because the Lord Yahweh is a power to be feared, man. And like I say, if you ain't part of that righteous number, hopefully I am. You're not gonna escape the wrath of judgment, Lord. You're not gonna escape the wrath of judgment of Lord Yahweh in these times going forward. But let's see. We go to 2 Ezra 15:19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So that's what's gonna happen. And a man, whoever may be, and man or woman, whatever it may be, but you're gonna have these men out here, they're gonna do what they gotta do to survive. They're gonna break in your house. They're gonna take your goods, whatever they gotta do to survive, with food, whatever. Because like I said, the lack of bread and the great tribulation, the great troubles is coming. There's gonna be a lack of food, lack of resources. Within America, Babylon the Great, in these cities, it's gonna be a cutoff. It's gonna be a cutoff point. For the goods that come to America. Once these docks stop shipping, once these docks, these shipping docks, these docks that have like the trailers, for like with the goods and all the stuff like that from these other countries, it's gonna be a cutoff. China, Russia, China, North America, India, whatever it may be, this other country that send goods to America, it's gonna be a cutoff point. It's gonna get to a point where it's gonna be a low of food and goods, man. You're gonna go to these stores and places, it ain't gonna be nothing. And ain't gonna have stores and restaurants closing down because of it. Like I said, the prices of food gonna skyrocket. Milk, water, bread, that's gonna skyrocket, and you gotta make it a choice of which one you gotta buy, because milk could be going up to $15, $20, go to $15-$20 or more going forward. Same way with bread, $15-$20 or more, going just raising up, right? I don't know if it is now, but it's going, if it keep raising up to it, people gotta make a decision with, it's going up to $20, $25, $30. Now you gotta make a decision. Is you gonna buy milk today, water today? I say even hygiene products are going up high. You gotta get some soap and that stuff, to wash up. And that stuff going up too. So people gonna be out here like, man, I ain't paying for that. You gonna have people robbing these places, stealing, running out the store with stuff they need, because it's gonna be too high to buy. One item is costing you $20, $25, and it's like they ain't, and the most money you trying to spend just $100 or whatever it may be. You're not trying to spend a lot of money to get what you gotta get up out of there. You're gonna have people out there stealing it, because this is just too much. They trying to, people out here just living paycheck to paycheck. They're trying to stretch their money out, and one item costs $25 or more, it's like they gotta get other things. Like they're gonna be out of money, you know. So you're gonna have people out here, do what they gotta do, man. They'll be out here robbing, stealing, killing, man, to survive, man. That's the times that we had. We in now, but going forward, it's gonna get way worse than it is right now, man. And people just don't see how. People not seeing how bad it's really gonna get, man. The way things going on with Trump and how he got these other countries, like they're not in a good relations with the things that he doing. And like I said, it's gonna get a cutoff point to where you ain't gonna have these stores, filled up with a lot of. These stores ain't gonna be filled up with all these goods and stuff and so forth, man. The restaurants gonna be closing because ain't no shipments of goods coming in what they need to keep running their restaurant. They low on this or low on that or don't have it. Now to shut the restaurant down. Restaurants down, food, like I say, food gonna get scarce and all that, man. Resources gonna get real scarce out here in America, Babylon the Great going forward. We in those times now going forward. So with that, I'm gonna see. I didn't want to make this too long. See. Again, I like to give our praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahar Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahar Hashem, Kakadash, to the apostle elders, to the sister Akim brothers, to the few Akwaf sisters that do listen, keep the faith, and Yahweh Shai keep fighting with that. I say Shalom.